Okay, and we're live, guys. Sorry for the delay. We're chatting about the countryside in Japan
Always.
and temperatures around the world. With Dr. Vasquez in Florida, America, and Sammy from Yokohama in Japan. So we're kind of conveying talking about the weather and places, countryside in different countries. So. But we'll get started today talking in the barbecue pit, talking about carnivore diet, health, and everything else. Feel free to join the conversation, and please put some cues in front of the questions so that we can keep track of them. So today, let's start with a question. What was one of the difficulties of starting carnivore diet for you guys, Dr. Vasquez or Sammy? What did you have trouble with when you first started?
Doctor, go ahead.
Anyone?
Okay, I'm gonna start this. Because my answer is the easy one. Because previously I had been on the ketogenic diet. The funny enough, I was plant-based ketogenic dieter. It's kind of an oxymoron, isn't it? I was subscribing Dr. Mark Hyman's and what's that guy, cardiologist, like an old guy, Canadian guy, that lactate toxicity. Sorry, I'm escaping that.
I can't think of his name, but I know who you're thinking of. Yeah,
Right,
he talks about.
right.
Yeah.
Yes, Dr. Gundry. Yeah,
That's
Stephen
it.
Gundry. I was really subscribing his approach. That's why I was drinking gallons and gallons of olive oil and a very small amount of meat. That's my ketogenic diet lifestyle, which lasted 1.5 years. That is why already I was keto adapted to the point that switching to the carnivore. I'm sorry to say this. I have zero struggle. Zero.
Oh, good.
Smooth as hell.
Oh, good. Well, that's good. Yeah. Yeah, I suppose like most people are actually coming from the standard Western diet, so they do have a lot of trouble,
Yeah, must be so tough though. Standard down to carnivore.
How about you, Dr. Vasquez? What was any troubles that you had? You're on mute, Dr. Vasquez.
Sorry. I have to get. I'm inviting someone. I don't know if he's available, but I was just talking to him a little while ago, so I'm not gonna mention the name. But if he says yes, you're gonna have to send him a link. Anyways, I've done keto over the past 35 years, a bunch of times. Always as a diet, lost the weight. Now I celebrate and go back on the perpetual yo-yo diet. So this time when 23 was my big year, I went keto straight and I kept reducing carbohydrates until when I started, which today is 605 days ago. I didn't have, I've never gotten the keto flu or anything like that. However, when I went carnivore, I did get a rash that lasted about 3 to 4 months. An itchy rash, I would pick on the lesions that they would come off. So the story that most people will say, oxalate dumping, right?
Yeah.
Probably that's what happened. Then it went away, and I think came back a little bit sometime later, but I haven't had it again.
Is that anything like psoriasis?
No. I'm talking about a little red bumps of granules that would come off when I scratch.
Oh, okay.
So literally coming out of the skin.
Right.
Not psoriasis. I did have a little bit of eczema, in a couple of places. That went away completely. But I've never gotten the keto flu. My wife always gets sick with the keto flu, and basically that's uh, withdrawals and electrolyte, fluid changes along with electrolytes, is
Yeah.
along with withdrawal symptoms, basically from going from a high carb to a low carb diet. But no significant problems. Uh,
Yeah, that's good.
Good. Is it
Yeah,
something to do with oxalate dumping or like a histamine intolerance? Is there some kind of a chance that you had a histamine intolerance because
I
your
don't
gut
think
wasn't
I don't
healed?
think I've had problems with histamine. I age my own steak sometimes in the refrigerator for a week, 10 days.
Oh,
I think the most I've done is 10 days because I put them, like, I take a picanha and I cut it in steaks, and my son is always watching for me to put steaks. To eat them, and so we usually go within a week through that.
mm, I
I
see.
like you were talking about before like the kind of yo-yo dieting. Yeah, I think that the keto diet makes it more difficult, I think, to stick to because it incorporates plants and other things that carbohydrates that, and people always get confused with these keto treats and things like that as well. They lose a heap of weight, and then they get complacent as well, and they celebrate, like you said. A lot of people do that. They lose the
Mm,
weight. That's their goal. They've reached their goal. Now it's time to celebrate, and
Hooray! I just celebrate.
yeah, it's
mm.
right. And the
Yeah.
celebration can last for years. So
The thing is, once I don't think keto treats are so common now, and the fake
yeah,
keto foods. But
Mm,
no,
yeah,
I'm talking about many years ago. I okay, I feel comfortable with the amount of weight. There seems to be. I don't know if you agree with this. This is my own observation. 40 is a key number. It
mm,
seems everybody can lose 40 pounds, and then they might stall, and then they give up
mm.
or celebrate. And it seems 40 repeats itself a lot in people
Don't you
telling
think, I think that goal shouldn't be in number of weight loss. The goal should be becoming healthy. That since
that's true.
you achieve the goal.
you're absolutely right, but most people start
Yeah.
any diet or
Yeah,
Mm,
I
diet
think it's a
thinking
motivation
about
thing.
their weight.
Yeah,
This
yeah,
last time will be my last time, but I did started thinking I want to control my diabetic numbers
mm, mm,
better,
yeah,
and so my initial, I knew the weight would come off.
mhm.
It did, over 100 pounds, and but my goal was different this time. And today is, by
Yes.
the way, 14 days I have not used any insulin. This morning
Wow.
my
wow,
fasting blood sugar was 86. My ketones were zero point 0.6.
Mm-hmm.
Fasting in the morning. So
yeah.
Mm,
That's
brilliant.
that's a
and
great point. I mean, like, the goal should be to improve your health,
Mm-hmm.
which is why you'd make any sort of dietary change. But
Yeah.
I think like the weight loss is just a very big motivator for people.
Yeah, it's
of
true.
course,
Like,
Uh,
and you see
Very
it all the time.
commercialized.
Yeah, yeah, that's right. It's all about, and that's what the fitness industry is built on. It's built on weight loss, which is
Mm,
crazy, really, when you think
yeah.
about it.
and
But
it's also what people see.
yeah,
See,
exactly.
nobody, if you have, whether you have something very serious like cancer or diabetes, which I think is extremely serious, not everybody uh, takes it that serious,
Mm,
or you're
yes.
dealing with a minor, let's say eczema, or
Mm.
somewhere more serious psoriasis. People will have different motivations, but what people see usually on the outside is you
Yeah.
lost weight,
Mhm.
or if you happen to have a severe psoriasis, which I've seen some pictures of people very,
Mhm.
very severe psoriasis that improved, then other people see that, and
Yeah.
it we all tend to say, oh, so that's great when you're talking about improving anxiety, depression, or things that others don't see. It's difficult to convince other people that this thing has uh,
Yes.
helped them. I don't know if you
Yeah.
find the same, DC or
Yeah,
Sam.
absolutely.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
It's very much like you say, like it's a very much a visual thing for people. It's
Mm.
if you have a
でね、
look at like some of the most popular channels as well,
yeah.
it's all about weight loss, how much weight they've lost,
Mm.
rather
You,
than
yeah, you know about that losing just weight. You can be vegan to lose weight. You
oh
can
yeah,
be whatever the diet, you can lose weight for a short
mm,
period of time. Even improvement of psoriasis even can be achievable in a vegan diet where the people came from the standard, American diet or something. It will improve
yeah.
initially.
Well, that's the thing. That's the thing too. Yeah, like an initial improvement, you will get as long as if you go from like a standard Western diet to
Mhm,
any kind of just clean food,
mhm,
you're going to have some benefits initially. Maybe not long term, but
no.
certainly initially. And when you look at the whole foundation of the fitness industry, for example, is built on losing weight. You can do that on a vegetarian diet. You can do it on a vegan diet. You can do that on a keto diet or even carnivore. But the difference is the health benefits. And when like if you go on a vegan diet, for example, if you weigh like 700 pounds, for example, any kind of dietary change, you are going to lose weight.
Yes.
Simple as that. And if you
Mm,
start moving, start exercising, of course, you're going to lose weight. That's just a normal reaction, but it's still not going to sustain you. And even when you get down to, I mean, people are probably going to hate what I say this, but it is, if you are obese in an obese level, all right, and I'm saying that I've been fat myself, I've been, sedentary, and I've been, as a coach, I have seen this. It is so easy to lose weight. It really is. It is dead easy to lose weight. The hardest
mm,
part is keeping it off and
yes.
restoring your health. That's the hard part, is staying
Mm,
healthy and restoring your health. Like,
mhm.
but losing weight is dead easy. Like if any kind of dietary change, if you're like 5, 6, 700 pounds, you're going to lose weight no matter what. It's easy to do,
Mm,
but
yes, agree.
it's when you get down the road and you get plateaus, you get stuck, and one of the biggest problems I've found, like in the last 30 years of this sort of stuff, is people will lose weight. Actually, I was talking to Todd about this on Carnivore Cure about this. It's exactly the same thing. They would lose weight, they change their diet, do some exercise, they lose weight. Then uh, in that weight, they're also losing bone tissue, muscle
Oh,
tissue, and things like that because they're doing like vegan diet, or they're doing starvation diets and things like
mm,
that. But then because they can't sustain it, because you can't sustain being hungry all the time.
yes, hunger wins.
That's right, hunger always wins. So then you start eating the food again and you get
Mm.
bigger and fatter, but now you're also weaker because you have smaller muscles and you have weaker bone tissue as well. So you get more adipose tissue actually getting fatter
Oh, yeah.
at weight. So
Mm.
there's a lot there that happens when you do these rebound and yo-yo dieting and things like that as well. And fat loss is great, but weight loss is not what you're actually after.
Mm. Yes,
And
yes.
Depends on
also
your level.
obesity. So we have to be careful when we talk about obesity, because obesity itself may not be the cause of many
No,
chronic
that's right.
Mm.
conditions. Might be coexistent with whatever the problem was that caused this other associated risk. So this is where
Yes.
uh, once I showed another doctor the picture. I usually have in, I don't have my card with me, but I showed the picture. Oh, I mentioned I reversed my hypertension and multiple things. Oh yeah, because you lost weight. No, it wasn't because I lost weight. I think all the other things and the weight were the result of a higher problem, hyperinsulinemia, um,
Yeah.
which I think once you get that, you are at risk of easily 30 to 50, chronic non-communicable diseases, and they all have the same root cause, except
Yeah.
food
Mm.
that has elevated
Yeah,
insulin levels.
I
Right,
agree.
right.
The obesity is really just a symptom of the problem, something that's causing that. Like
But it is
obviously,
true. We all, and me as a part of other people, we look at the weight, and
yeah,
we have excess weight. We want to have it off, but with this, the feeling better is so much better.
Mm-hmm,
yeah,
mm-hmm.
Um,
Yeah, fatness is a downstream effect of the insulin resistance and some root cause of the problem. Most likely it caused by, plant kind of the excessive carbohydrates and of the evolutionary mismatch of the food consumption.
yeah, that's right. Yeah, and being too lean is also a health risk as well. Like we are meant to
oh,
carry a certain amount of body fat as well.
Yes,
yeah,
yes,
yeah.
agree.
Uh, uh, roughly, when your BMI is between 20 and 25, that's supposed to be the healthiest. Well, people who are between, 25 to 30 is overweight, 30 to 35 is class 1 obesity, 35 to 40 is class 2 obesity, over 40 is class 3 obesity. By the way, but my BMI was at some point 50.
Yeah,
Wow, wow, big.
but
But between 30 and 35, which is class 1 obesity, I was reading, and I can't remember the source, so you forgive me, but the all cause mortality was about the same as 20 to 25. So
Mm.
when you're talking about excess weight, basically
Mm.
over 35 and 40, that's when those curves of multiple associated risks and mortality from and morbidity from all of them really
yeah,
become separated, the curves.
yeah.
Ah,
So
but
The problem with
Asian population. Yeah.
BMI though too is okay. BMI just stands for bloody misinformation, really, because it is.
Yeah, Dr.
I
Sean
mean,
Baker is obese.
before I was diagnosed the year before. I was the same as you. Though I was BMI 50, right? But I was super lean.
Mm.
Right? So
Jacked.
there's a difference. You see, I was very lean, but the muscle mass I had on my body, like clinically obese because of the muscle
Mm.
mass on my body at the time. So
Mm-hmm.
I mean, when they're talking BMI, they're just talking about all weight, but it's body types and how much muscle mass and everything you carry, bone tissue, everything like that. That's all weight too, and muscle is much heavier than fat tissue
Mm.
is. It's much more dense.
muscle, connective tissue, bones.
That's right.
Uh,
Yeah,
Yeah.
organs, everything.
Yeah, and so that's all heavier, much heavier than fat tissue. So it's not so much following the BMI standard is not a good thing to be doing either.
Mm.
It's, really, like you said, like I said
A
before, like,
breakdown. Mhm.
yeah, you have to break it down.
But
And
I have to
yep,
say, though,
Mm.
it is not the fault of the BMI per se. BMI is just a calculated
yeah,
calculation of height and weight, right? It's
that's
just
right.
a
Mm.
Like
fact.
it's just
It's
a
just to
population.
score.
Yeah,
What happens with the BMI was that, this whoever came up with the calculation was more than 100 years ago, and they
Oh.
have used it for multiple things, including actuarial tables of insurance, life insurance.
Ah.
It's
I
being used
see.
for many things because
Mm.
it can roughly indicate or have an associated effect on mortality. Now, the meaning of what is a normal BMI is what, maybe we need to look at it differently. For example,
mm,
uh, we have here represented two ethnicities, if you
I
would,
see. Asians have
that
a low
that conform
BMI.
completely to the standard BMI,
Mhm.
yeah,
Hispanics and Asian. So
yeah,
you cannot apply it to it, but you know, it's still a calculation of your height and weight. It's
yeah.
a
I mean,
not
it's
not the
a
best
more
one
accurate
ever.
a more accurate way to do it would be height versus waistline.
Mm. Yes.
Um, that would be a more accurate sort of population sort of guide, I think.
Mm.
But you're right. Like 100 years ago, for like a country population, say in America at the time, that was a general population sort of calculation. But it can't be applied to different ethnicities, different countries, and things like that. So it's just something that is, again, I think it's just it was useful at the time for a small general population, but it's not something
Mm.
that should be used globally. And
Yes.
unfortunately, like we have and that's the problem with things like the dietary guidelines too. Like these are, you know, they were started in America by, for example, the Dietetics Association in America, for example, and that's sort of gone global, and it doesn't encompass like different populations, and I mean they're wrong completely anyway from the start, but
Yeah.
generally speaking, like if you look at deuterium levels in diets, certain ethnicities can get away with more higher deuterium than like northern like Europeans, for example, and they live further down on the equator in a hotter climate sort of thing as well. So I don't think there should be a global sort of calculation that we should be using anyway. But again, I think height versus waistline is a much better calculation than height versus weight.
Yeah, yeah.
But
Well, it's one of the markers that people take seriously as one of the metabolic
yeah,
markers.
mm,
You know, Hispanics, for example, most Hispanics will be on the upper end, and even if they look good, they look. You can tell, at least as far as the weight, you can see someone and say, "Oh, that person is at the right way," or if it's muscular, and that happens more frequently with African Americans and with Hispanics. And then Asian people, they can be metabolically ill at much lower numbers, even if
yeah,
their BMI is, you know, under 25, but at 25, they're already metabolically uh, perhaps ill, depending very much that waist circumference, waist to height ratio would be more important. For a while, I I still have it on my white coat. I have a measuring tape, and when I talk to people, I say, "Do you mind if we if we measure it?" And 100% of the time, they're surprised because they thought it's not the same. Especially men, we think our pants being 38 means our waist is 38. No, it's probably much higher. But so pant size doesn't correlate with the actual number of inches around your
No, that's
waist.
right.
And
Yeah,
everybody's always surprised.
right.
Yeah.
At least our figure or thinness doesn't tell your metabolic health. Look at Japanese and Koreans and Chinese or Indians. We look skinny. We don't have obese people, but the ratio of the type 2 diabetes patients is very, very high.
Yeah.
We can be,
Yeah.
type 2 in a
A
very,
lot
very
of
skinny
coffee,
body.
thin
Toffees,
outside,
yes.
fat inside.
Yeah.
That's gone really
Incredible.
high since the 90s in Japan. Like they started introducing, they're a bit later than us, but they started introducing seed oils and diabetes and everything just started skyrocketing from there.
Why
But
seed oil? I know that seed oil is so bad. It's a kind of a duplicate of the machine back in 19th centuries and stuff. But what is a mechanism of seed oil directly cause type 2? Do we know the mechanism or just the information?
yeah, that's a good question, Doc.
I am not
Doctor.
aware of the mechanism. I have heard that certainly, and there are other people who defend the seed oils, and they,
Mm.
there's two sides to every story, right? Uh, I prefer to stay away from them, especially since I learned the canola oil story.
Oh
Um,
yeah, no, it's shockingly bad.
I,
Mm.
I, even if I thought they were good for me, which some people claim they might be good for you, the evidence is, I don't know.
Yeah, I think the evidence is
I stay away
overwhelmingly
from all
bad.
of them.
Yeah, I mean the evidence is overwhelmingly bad.
Mm.
Like if you ever look at some of the speaks, there's the speeches by Dr. Chris Kenobi. He does a lot of work
Mm.
on seed oils. Okay, um, but one of the biggest things is the fact is, I mean, they're highly manufactured. They're man-made oils. They're not seeds at all. Mostly, they're not from vegetables per se, like they keeps telling us, and so on. But they're really high in linoleic acid, omega 6s
Mm.
for a start. But because they are processed so much as well, but they have a very low heat tolerance, and they actually process it through heat and filters and all these other things as
Well,
well.
some of them though have a very high smoke point, like, and I'm not defending it, but grape seed oil, for example,
Mm.
Yeah,
has a
yeah,
smoke point
and
of over
even coconut
500.
oil is not as
That still
it's not
doesn't convince
as
me that it's fake.
processed.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, good point, doctor.
but
When
they're
you
not
think about it,
producing.
PUFA, omega 3 is actually very, very heat sensitive than
Yeah,
normal, seed oil.
yeah,
Yeah,
that's true. Yeah,
right,
but when it comes
very
to
conundrum.
like, yeah, I think it's the overuse of them as well. Like like every restaurant uses them, and when they use oils in restaurants, they use it and use it and use it and use it like it's being cooked and cooked and cooked and cooked and cooked and cooked and cooked, and then it gets filtered and then it gets sold to the next line down the road, sort of thing.
Mm.
They're putrid things.
Oxidized too much.
Yeah, like heavily oxidized, and
Mm.
yeah, it's just. I mean, there's a number of problems that come from these seed oils. Um, but you're right. I mean, there's omega 3s, for example, the pufas and things like that. They have a much lower
Mhm.
oxidative stress sort of rate, but it's I think cooking in fat is far more beneficial. It's I don't know. I just feel better myself on cooking with fat anyway. But I
You just
mean,
Mhm.
have to deal with
I
the
don't
grease
cook much.
kitchen.
Yeah,
Mm.
yeah, yeah. That's right. Yeah, but there you go. Anyway,
Yeah.
let's have a look at this question. What's one thing you have changed or added that has helped you on carnivore and could see doing forever? Oh, that's a good question.
Mm. What's that?
Something that you have changed or helped you on carnivore that you could see yourself doing forever.
So
That's a
I've
good
noticed I feel
question.
better. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Sammy.
Oh no. I was mumbling to myself. Sorry, doctor. Go ahead.
I've noticed being more on the fatty side, adding a fat or fatty cuts of meat, I feel
Agree.
better on it, and my blood sugars are better when
Yeah.
I try to stay on the. Yeah,
Ah.
I'm not measuring every time I'm gonna cook something how many grams of the, but I buy hamburgers that are 75-25, or if I buy fat trimmings and just fry a few cuts of fat. I feel better than having just leaner meat.
Yeah.
Wow, good
And
point.
my
Good
blood
point.
sugars also are better when I do that.
Yeah, agree. In my case, I realized the fact that when I try to do my carnivore perfectly, somewhat I'm gonna get tired of being perfect. Here and there, I drink, green tea. Sometimes yesterday, guess what? I kind of pick up some almond size, incredibly bad. But it's okay. This is a part of the journey. The not be too perfect, not kind of following the numbers and macro ratio. The too much actually it destroys your motivation.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, that's a very good point, Sammy. Yeah, I mean, two very good points. Yeah, carnivore diet. A lot of people when they start carnivore diet, they keep chasing proteins, and they think it's a high. It is a higher protein diet than the standard Western diet, of course, or even a keto diet. But it's largely a fat diet. We are like I spoke to Amber Hearn a little while
Mm,
ago.
good one.
Lipivores. You know, um, we survive on fat. Fat is our fuel, and that's what we should be chasing as much as possible. I feel so much better. You have so much more energy when you eat a lot more fat. I eat fat fries like fat trimmings. I eat the fat. I find the fattiest steaks I can. It's usually the cheapest steaks too because they're so fatty. Um, but apart from that too, like Sammy said, motivation is a big factor when it comes to doing any kind of dietary change or exercise routine or anything that you do in life. Motivation is a very big part of it. And if you are consistently chasing perfection, you're going to burn out. So it's more about progress than it is about perfection.
You can drive
So
yourself
just
crazy sometimes
yeah,
if you
yeah,
Mm,
try
you
to
would.
be perfect. And
Mm.
to me, it's not
And
yeah.
not a diet
it's
anymore. It's
no,
Hmm.
not.
that's right.
I just
No, that's right. It becomes a job. It becomes too difficult, and that's I think the biggest part of why anyone would quit any kind of routine. It just gets too much to keep trying to be perfect.
Mm,
So you lose that motivation and you quit, and because you think, well, the hell with it. So I think it's
mm,
it's don't be so tight on yourself that you can't enjoy even just trying a snack every now and then. If you don't feel good on that snack, that's great. That's a good thing because it motivates you to keep or to stay on the carnivore diet.
mm,
So I think, like I said, it's all about uh, progress, not perfection, and it's just consistency. Like it's consistency over time. So don't be too hard on yourself.
agree.
Yeah. Hello, everyone. Thanks, everyone, for joining us. We really appreciate it. Pharaoh Grandmother, nice. Try and get to, and here's another question. Does bloating equal inflammation? It's a good question from Beth. What do you think, Doc?
most likely it could be uh our a lot of carnivores. If you're truly carnivore, you're not ingesting much fiber, right?
Hmm.
Very often the bloating comes when you're doing a ketogenic diet and you're including a lot of fiber, and you can have a lot of bloating. You can still get some bloating from, normal digestion is basically breaking down everything to its smallest um, structures, like the amino acids and the fatty acids and the carbohydrates. And sometimes some of those will ferment in your gut and you develop some gas. Uh, but when it's excessive, bloating implies I'm having an excessive amount that's making me uncomfortable, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
I don't
another thing. Yeah, sorry, go on.
know if Beth is talking about on the carnivore diet or on any type of other type of diet.
Very
Yeah.
carnivore.
Have you had trouble with bloating, Sammy?
Of course. Needless to say, when I was a plant-based, the bloating was default mode. I was like a
Yeah.
pregnant woman, of course. And switched to the carnivore, the bloating flattened. But sometimes what I noticed was that when I take a lot of liquid, including soup, water, even
Yeah.
apple cider vinegar, with meal, too much to the point that I think that my digestive, juice gets diluted, and my system has a hard time to digest process, hence bloating.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was just going to say, actually. When you drink too much water or fluids around your meal, that can result in bloating, and especially if the meal is higher in protein rather than fat. Usually, if you have a high fat meal and you drink water, a lot of water, it's going to go straight through you. All right, it'll give you diarrhea. But if it's heavy in protein and you drink a lot of liquid, be it water or anything else, you might get a bit of bloating. But I don't think it results in inflammation of anything. It's just a bit of bloating. You're just having trouble, a little bit of difficulty processing it all those
Sometimes
liquids
as
with
part of the digestion, you produce some gas, and then if you have uh, protein shakes, for example, recently had someone tell me that a shake that they were drinking, which was pretty clean, it was animal based, not many bad ingredients, no seed oils, which many of the shakes out there do have, and they were still getting bloating. They
yeah.
Oh,
have the protein shake and they realized it went away.
Even
So
the healthiest protein shakes out there, like 99.9% of them have seed oils in them. They'll have either soy lecithin or soy protein as well, but they're always soy enhanced or canola oil or and
but
some form of that.
even without it, because this one I know for a fact that I had reviewed the ingredients and it didn't have any seed oils, but
But
still
they're
was
still heavily processed. Even
mm.
like whey protein or even like Mark Bell has one that's made from organs and things like that. They still have flavorings, colorings, but even apart from all that, it's still a heavily processed powdered form. And powdered form supplements can wreak havoc on your liver,
Mm.
and they do cause bloating. Just something, even though they're mixed and they're blended and everything like that. I had the same thing. For decades, I was on protein powders. Okay, so I know what it's like. But
and they
um,
increase your blood sugar, they spike your blood
yeah,
sugar more
that's
than
right.
eating a
Yeah,
steak.
Oh yes,
that's right.
insulogenic
Yeah,
of some kind.
yeah, that's right. They
Mm.
spike an insulin response. They cause bloating and all sorts of other problems. So even the healthiest protein powder, I just avoid them as much as you can. I mean, there's really no need to take them. Just eat a steak, honestly. And believe me, I know what it's like to. You think you got to get the protein and you got to get the protein shakes for recovery from after exercise, before exercise, or whatever, but you don't need it. You don't need it at all. You get it from real food. Speaking as a strength coach, okay, and someone who has a lot of experience with these supplements, just stay away from them. They're not healthy at all. Let me see. So I think we answered that one. Okay, here's another question. Your thoughts on GLP-1 with carnivore diet, if still inflamed, suffering deep problems? Thank you. Good question for you, Doc.
All right, so don't kill the messenger here. I'm a traditionally trained doctor. I use all kinds of medicine. I think if you're gonna use a GLP just because of weight loss, I am not totally opposed to someone who really has tried everything and they want to try maybe some microdosing of GLP for the weight loss, but they must do exercise and they must consume enough protein because that's what you lose the most with GLPs. Now, it's not unique. When you lose weight, even if it's on a calorie restricted diet, you might lose a lot of muscle if you're not exercising, doing resistance training, for example. But a, a good carnivore diet, even a low carbohydrate diet, causes most, if not all, of the GLP actions. Okay. So, do they have a use? It's probably one that you should not consider as your first option. I'll put it that way. When I'm treating a patient with diabetes and their blood sugars are 300 and the A1C is 15, and they refuse to make radical changes, because going to a very low carbohydrate diet, carnivore diet, is a radical change. Well, I don't want to give up my bread or my fruits or my eggs, just fill in the blank. They're not willing. Sometimes, because the evidence is the higher blood sugar for the longer amount of time, that's going to create damage as well. So I use GLP-1s. I'm very careful. I sometimes take others away. The GLP-1s, the dual action GLP-1s, like tirzepatide, or the newer one that's coming out is a triple action. I call them the better quarterback. I have 10, 11, 12 different groups of medications because of different actions that I can use for diabetes. The GLP-1s are the ones that do almost the same as many of those other medications. So sometimes they can be added. But if you're talking about, if you're on a carnivore diet, you're already doing most of the actions. We do know of at least someone who is on YouTube and other platforms that had tried many things, including carnivore. And she's still carnivore, but she's doing a little bit of GLP-1s, and she's lost 40 pounds when she had been at a stall for years.
Yeah,
I think carnivore diet part kind of caught my attention. The GLP itself, it's going to be the something kind of delaying the the emptying, and they keep you satiated, which should be achieved by carnivore diet. That is why before kind of questioning the carnivore plus GLP works or not, maybe you want to check that you are high fat enough, or you are eating meat enough to get the benefit from the carnivore diet to get the GLP-1, the efficacy from the carnivore diet.
Yeah, exactly, Sammy. Yeah, exactly right. Like Dr. Vasquez, he was on GLP-1 for 2 years, had zero change in weight and any other marker. So there was, and like you said, Dr. Vasquez, that the carnivore diet should be doing what the GLP-1s are meant to do as well. So check how much fat intake you're eating and how much you're eating overall. Because I think a lot of people do this. They under eat on the carnivore diet. They don't eat enough food. Full stop.
Yes.
And that they're always hungry. They're not satiated. So of course they have problems sticking to it because they're simply not eating enough food, and more importantly, not eating enough fat. So that can be one of the biggest problems for most people coming to the carnivore diet. They tend to think that they eat the same portions, like if you had a whole meal, like you had rice and salad and everything else, and then you had the steak, and they keep the steak and get rid of everything else. You still need to eat. You still have to eat a lot of food. Just something I wanted to add to the protein powders as well. One of the reasons why I avoid them now is because they don't have the bioavailability of the protein that you actually absorb. For example, we absorb amino acids, right? And these protein powders, they don't have them in a natural form and natural level. So they're all different levels, and you're just trying to overload these amino acids into your body. And the bioavailability, because they are so processed, actually I don't think there's ever been proven that these protein powders actually give you any benefit whatsoever when it comes to building muscle. So they're
Really?
just, yeah, absolutely. I think it all just comes down to what you actually eat outside of those protein powders, because there's never been one time where they've actually studied or they've proven that these protein powders are effective in improving athletic ability or improving recovery or muscle building. So whatever your goal is, like athletes, I know like it's most people think it's about bodybuilding and things like that, but even runners need a high protein diet. Cardio athletes and everything like that, they still need a high protein diet for recovery, and they will take in just as much protein as a bodybuilder will. Okay, they'll have the same requirements because it's more about time under tension and load.
We have been told that protein shake is going to be more beneficial because it's already processed. That is why more bioavailable that we have been told for
That's
3
right.
decades.
But it's because of all that heavy processing, though, it's actually less bioavailable. So like whey, for example, whey comes from milk, but it's so heavily processed. Like it would be more beneficial to just drink raw cow milk rather than taking like a whey protein shake. It'd be more bioavailable. Right?
When you think about the whey is actually byproduct of the other product, it's a waste product. That's kind of made it commercialized.
From milk processing, yeah. So it's and that's one of the most popular ones for building muscle apparently. But the fact is, you're just going to get all your amino acids and peptides and everything else that you get from meat and fat, and not just beef, but lamb and other meats as well. Is going to be far more bioavailable and far more effective in building muscle than these supplements that they also cause a lot of other problems, like insulin response and liver problems and things like that. So
I see. Okay, thank you.
Much healthier way to go.
Yeah.
Beth. bloating, eggs and cheese. Yeah, I mean, cheese is pretty heavy in carbohydrates, depending on type of cheese that you get as well. But I mean, I've never heard people having a problem with eggs.
Egg
Uh,
white maybe.
yeah, egg whites maybe, yeah. But also, again, I think it largely comes down to how much fluids you're drinking around your meals as well. Yeah,
But cheese has, lactose, even
yeah,
though it gets, yeah, depleted to some extent. And also
yeah,
casein could be the reason. Some kind of
yeah.
addicted
That's
to.
true.
Mm.
Yeah, casein can cause bloating. Um, Again, like I think for best results on the carnivore diet, whether it's weight loss, health, or anything else, we are the only species on the planet that takes in dairy products after infanthood, after we've developed, and we're the only ones that really take it from another species as well. So, I mean, there are people who cannot, like some women who cannot breastfeed, for example, and in like 100 years ago, they would if they couldn't do that, they would just breastfeed directly from a goat or from a cow. That would, there's many pictures of people doing that, but that again was through
Mm.
infanthood. We didn't. I don't think that as an adult that once you've developed that you need to take in dairy products. I think there's zero necessity for it. Sure, a lot
My
of people like
father,
cheese.
my father grew up uh, on goat's milk because
Oh.
his mom, my grandmother, developed a problem. I wasn't there, of course. So I think she had an infection, something couldn't breastfeed him,
Mm.
and he was giving goat's milk.
Wow.
By the way, goat's milk is more similar to human milk than cow's milk.
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah,
Mm. Maybe
yeah,
a one way to casein problem. Goat is a more kind of less pro-inflammatory
yeah,
than A1 casein problem.
yeah. I think that could be, a lot of people's problems too. Is like you guys said, like goat's milk is closer to human milk, and like it's
Oh,
lower in
didn't
casein.
know.
Yeah, so yeah, that could be a good thing for people to switch to. But again, once you're an adult, if you're an infant and your mother can't breastfeed you, then yeah, goat milk, great, fantastic. They're very beneficial.
It's meant to grow babies into bigger humans.
That's right. Yeah, that's
Yes.
right.
Once we
Actually,
get
we'll talk about this with Amber, talking with Amber Ahern about this too, is that, they, through infanthood, we produce more ketones here because you've got to feed that big brain that takes so much energy out of it takes at least 25% of our energy even as an adult, but as a child, that's why we are one of the fattest species as a baby, even fatter than seals, because the more fat we produce we are carrying, the more ketones we produce for our brain development. And that's why breast milk is very high in. It's also high in fat, cholesterol, and carbohydrates. It's the only one that has. It's the only thing that has all three macronutrients.
Mm.
Is the milk for the brain, for the baby's development. But once you are developed, you finish developing it. Say 18, 20 years old. I don't think that there's really much need for any kind of milk or dairy products. In fact, there's zero need for it. And it's something that does stop a lot of people getting the results they want. For example, fat loss when it comes to things like that, because it will stall if you're on a carnivore diet. When you get down to a certain body fat percentage composition, it will stall your composition quite a bit. So really, think about, do you really need to have cheese? Do you really need to have dairy products? Do you want that in your diet? And if that's suits if that suits your goals, then that's fine. You know, each to their own. You know,
But
go
I
for it.
think Beth is getting addicted to dairy product because dairy has a morphine mimicking elements. We
Yeah.
love cheese, don't we? You know,
Oh yeah.
it's nice to, you know, the pizza, then all of that. Maybe she needs the kind of abstinent to get rid of the crave of, you know, dairy.
Yeah, yeah. I think, yeah, you're right. I mean, it can be quite. Yeah, it's just like the rest of like a standard Western diet, like sugars. You know, you get that dopamine hit from dairy, and
Mm.
it feels good. You know,
I
cheese
wish
is
I could
wonderful.
eat that.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
like
and
the
that's why.
idea of the melting cheese.
Yeah, that's right. It's great. Actually, I saw something the other day. Actually, I saw this is one of the biggest mistakes I see people make on the carnivore diet. One, like what to eat when they're out and about and they go to places like McDonald's and they get their burgers, right, without the buns. One that it's really high, like there's really low, quite low in fat. It's very lean, sort of meat patties. And what's in it? Actually, I'm not going to go into that debate because that'll take much longer. But and then there's someone coming out with a meme the other day, like what to eat at McDonald's sort of thing, and like tick the cheese, right? That they melt on those burgers. This is not dairy cheese. This is
Fake cheese.
largely fake cheese that has the perfect melt point. Like that is it is so many additives and all these different chemicals in it to make it melt perfectly on these burgers. Just because they say it's cheese doesn't mean that it's carnivore friendly. You know,
It's a cheese-like substance.
that's right.
Cheese like.
That's right. It's a cheese-like
Looks like,
substance.
smell like.
Yeah, and for example, and I think that the burgers are pretty much the same. They're like a meat-like substance that, and honestly, like you're feeding the companies that are trying to poison you.
Well, I gotta say, many of them claim to be 100% beef. Now, that doesn't mean it's
But they also
100%
claim that that's
from one
cheese.
cow,
Yeah,
because they have found, like, multiple origin DNA in those, but many of them do claim to be 100% beef.
but they also claim that that's cheese as well. So this is the point I'm making, is that just because they tell you it is what it is, it doesn't mean that everything's good to go. But anyway, that's just me. I think just I don't want to keep these companies in business myself, but that's just me. I agree, running tap. I don't understand the protein powder. Just eat meat. Yeah, I mean there are benefits. If it was as good, I would like to say that but the problem is they're very, very expensive products that do a lot of health damage and have absolutely no benefit, no proven benefit at all. 0% proven benefit. But it is very easy to have a liquid meal, especially like in summer. It's really easy. If you could have like a really nice ice cold protein shake, it feels great, you know. But you're right, just eat meat, much healthier.
But only one kind of the exception is that I had a lady. She's arthritis in her 70s. She had zero desire to eat meat and eggs. She could eat a portion of the egg white part, but at the time I kind of told her, can you drink the some kind of a pure organic, no sweetener, no garbage, protein shake. She was able to drink that one shake, and this is the only her protein source she could consume. And then she kind of improved her, not gym performance, just standing up. She couldn't, but incorporating some, protein in a form of protein shake, little bit she improved. That kind of a exception for elderlies who can't eat, meat. How do you think?
I would say eggs. I would say make if you okay the best source if you want to make a protein shake, I would say use eggs, whole eggs, fresh eggs that you can eat raw.
I should have said.
Eggs, for example, also the protein, the amino acids in eggs are actually more bioavailable than meat. So actually, the protein will actually get into your muscle cells faster than beef will. Okay.
Ah,
Um,
okay.
so if you're that opposed to eating meat, just blend up a heap of eggs, and you can flavor it with something that as long as it's something healthy.
I
Um,
see.
and make a protein shake with just eggs and something else maybe for
Mm,
flavor. But that's
okay.
that's what I would do.
I see. Okay, I
And
will do that.
especially if you are trying to put. I mean, as we get older, we have a higher protein requirement as well. As we get older,
Yes.
our dietary protein efficacy is much lower. So meaning that um, it's more difficult for our body to process dietary protein into muscle protein. So we have to eat more protein as we get
Yeah.
older.
Part of that might be also decreased absorption of protein as we age.
That's right. Yeah,
Yeah.
You need to
that's
put
right.
more in
Yeah,
there so more gets absorbed.
that's
But
right.
previously, they were taught that as you age, you don't need to such amount of protein. They had been taught. That's why there
Yeah,
was a kind of
we actually need more.
brainwashed idea. Oh, meat is bad. Animal source
Yeah,
is bad. They
And
yeah,
believed
we
particularly
that.
actually need more. Yeah,
females, probably more than males as we age,
yeah,
have more difficulty getting enough protein for whatever reason.
Mental barrier almost.
I always ask my patients, what are bones made of? And almost everybody will
Oh,
tell me calcium.
no.
Well, no, they're not made of calcium.
yeah,
Calcium is the most important mineral that
Mineral. Yeah.
is in bone, magnesium, boron, there are many others. But the building block of bones is protein. More
that's
than
right.
50% of the bones are
Yes.
protein.
Yes.
And then
Yeah,
it's like building up a wall. You have bricks, and then you're going to put sand, mortar, whatever. Well, you can't build a wall just with a mortar, right? You have
no,
to
Mm,
that's right.
yes.
the building
That's right.
blocks.
And the building blocks. Yeah,
Mm,
which are proteins, amino acids more specifically, and the most important one is collagen. But you know, just talking about crude protein as a whole, yeah. As we get older, that absorption of protein, dietary protein into the muscles, it actually gets worse and less, gets less efficient. I think a lot of
mm.
that has to do with we as we get older, we're less active as well, generally
Sure.
speaking. But
Sure. Sure.
it's just my opinion.
Mm,
Um,
No, no,
but
that is certainly an important factor because
mm,
just eating protein doesn't make your muscles grow, your bones grow. You have to put stress on them.
that's right.
To,
When I
Exactly.
was 43, I was diagnosed with osteopenia. And after
Yeah.
I didn't take the medicine because I knew that there are many side effects. What I
Yeah.
did was switch to carnivore, and I kept doing the resistance training. Now my bone density is low end yet normal range. I reversed the osteopenia by
Yeah.
carnivore and weight training.
Yeah. Excellent. Because uh, the absorption of proteins into your bones and connective tissue and muscles all rely on stresses. That they have to be stressed, like impact. Impact stress is what sparks the growth, the absorption of our dietary amino acids and so on, and the growth actually is even your growth hormones. Okay, that is actually um, uh, is it start well it starts with the impact, like impact exercises. You have to stress that the body for that to actually start that process. So this is why we are designed to move. That is it.
Mm.
It is, and there's so many reasons why we have to move our bodies. um yeah. And there are things that can help with these things, like these cereal products I've got up here in the corner. the Stem Enhance Ultra, this actually helps to stimulate your body to release more stem cells. And the
Wow.
more healthy stem cells you have in the body, obviously, the more the healthier you're going to be. But there are other things that also stimulate this. Because as we get older, the release of stem cells, healthy stem cells in the body, gets less and less as well, because it'd be just less efficient. And I think that's also comes down to less movement as we get older, because it's our body, heavy exercise, for example, especially resistance, the release of stem cells. Fasting also stimulates the release of stem cells. Okay. There's raw products, and there are a few other things that actually I'll go into more detail in my life hacks video. So if you go check that out, you can get a bit more information about that. But this is all part of aging, and I think that the fastest way to age is to do nothing. Right? We are designed and built to move, and that is, I think, is one of the biggest keys to everything. So, add on to the question: GLP not for weight loss, only inflammatory use, small dose.
Doctor.
So whatever you're gonna use it for, you better be eating the right way. I'm putting it as simple as possible. If you're not eating the right way, it doesn't matter what they are supposed to do. It's not gonna happen. Some doctors, if you're moving towards better metabolic health and your blood sugars are coming down, which also means your insulin probably is coming down when you're following a ketogenic or carnivore diet, then your body is able to burn more fatty acids, oxidize fatty acids a lot, and use ketones. Those cases, the GLP-1s might be more helpful. It's not only for inflammation. There are people using it for Parkinson's, dementia, and many other brain-related disorders. And some of the ones that are coming out in the future, not too long future, are going to be indicated for brain disorders.
Yeah.
Now,
I mean,
how
again,
do they work? How do they work? They lower your blood sugar. So
yeah.
you
Simple as that.
Again, it's all about mimicking what the carnivore diet does for you naturally. And getting ketones to the brain is so essential as well. Like, I have seen people taking existential ketones, supplements. Honestly, I've never seen any benefit from that. I've spoken to many people about this, Professor Bart Kay and others, and honestly, like, I
well,
think
there are some studies. There are studies. There've been studies on ketones for many years, and some might be beneficial. Now, the exogenous ketones are never going to have as much and as a prolonged effect as your own production. But people with dementia have seen using MCT oil and increasing doses, pushing it to most common side effect from MCTs is diarrhea. So they have the improvement in cognition and things like that because they induce ketones so much more quickly than just fat oxidation. So, are they better than just trying to be on a ketogenic state? Don't know. Usually they last a short time. The half-life is short in the body.
I think it's like it's very much like the D3 debate. I think it's anything like if you are especially if you're coming, or like if you're in a state like you have dementia or you have any kind of condition, say if you're depleted in D3, for example, there are, and testosterone and like these hormone replacement sort of treatments can have a short-term benefit, like an immediate acute benefit. But the thing is, you want your body to produce as many of the hormones and other things that it's supposed to produce by itself from your diet. You know, like D3, for example, is a hormone that is produced in your liver and your cholesterol stimulated by sunlight. So if you are acutely low in D3, for example, you might want to take supplement. But you know, again, these supplements are not very healthy, and whether they're beneficial or not is a very different thing. But anything that you take, you want it to be temporary until your body starts producing these things by themselves, which is what it's supposed to be doing. Like we are supposed to be producing ketones, for example. We are supposed to be producing testosterone and D3. These are things that, you know, it all comes down to your hormone function and your liver function and everything like that. So that's the idea. These things should be a temporary measure, like bridge between like an acute condition and, you know, healthy metabolic function, you know. So that's my opinion anyway. I think that's the way it should be. Let's see a question. So it's a myth that milk is good for bones. Yes.
Myth.
Yes. Yeah.
It's a commercial, industry created myth.
It's not a myth according to the milk industry.
Of course.
But, milk itself, have you noticed they have to put vitamin D back into the milk, because milk doesn't have great levels of vitamin D, because anyways, and because it has calcium. The most important substrate for bone production is the protein. Yes, the calcium, I'm not minimizing. Calcium is important for the bones, but the best bioavailable calcium is the one from your diet.
Yeah, in Japan, they
all the other minerals.
Yeah, in Japan, one of the biggest things they tell you is, like, you know, eat the fish bones because that's full of, you know, calcium and things like that. But you know, the body actually produces calcium as well. It's, you know, without calcium, you like your muscles won't relax after contraction, sort of thing. So when you, again, from impact exercise, we produce calcium to actually release muscle cells and things like that as well. So you get the contraction and release and things like that, and that also stimulates your bone growth or bone health as well. So it's not just about getting it from your diet. It's about getting it, you know, your body produces this as well.
And also that if you kind of focus on the too much calcium, you are going to deplete the magnesium in your body. Yeah. It's always kind of a balance, isn't it?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, it's all about homeostasis.
Yeah.
Doesn't digestive bloat come from foods fermenting? Yeah, some of it does. Yeah, if you eat vegetables and fruits and stuff, yeah.
Supposed
fiber,
to
be. Yeah. Anything high in fiber, yeah. But you can get bloating from too much liquids. Yeah. Like we were saying before, when you eat like when you have like a lean protein meal and you drink a lot of water, for example, you will get bloating because you don't have that fat that regulates your bowel movements and things like that as well. So there are things like that will cause it. Thank you. Appreciate it, GP. Wants to GLP for brain and pain. I'm lying with egg, but suffering difficult. Okay, so your lion diet with eggs. Well, that's, yeah, okay. Thank you, Tricia. GLP. for brain and pain. What do you think about GLP for the brain and pain, Doc?
First of all, if it's not 100%, carnivore diet is not 100% cure for for things, but many things do improve or go away. And for example, chronic pain. I used to suffer from chronic pain, and a lot of people go on low carbohydrate diets for pain. Now, yes, if you are eating steak and eggs, basically, there might be a benefit for the brain going on a GLP. The new one coming out, it's a triple action, so to speak, GLP instead of double like tirzepatide or just the GLP single action of the semaglutide. But I would be more in favor of doing something like that if you're already eating the right way, like I've mentioned before, because then you will probably reap more benefits, and you don't need huge doses either.
Yeah.
Okay. You don't need huge doses.
I think no matter what condition you have, no matter what medications you are on, if you are eating right, if you're eating on like a carnivore diet, it's going to help improve things anyway. So,
But
even
if the
medications.
brain and the pain coming from the autoimmune disease, maybe the person needs to be very, very strict, the lion diet without missing the eggs and cheese and
It
nothing.
didn't say how long, right?
Mm-hmm.
No, didn't say how long. But yeah, you're right. I mean, there are things that you could probably cut. Maybe try. Like I think we should be on a very high fat diet, but this is something that is takes adaptation.
In particular for the brain, by the way.
Yeah. Even if you start like on a 1-to-1 diet, and if you maybe cut out chicken eggs, you could try duck eggs. Duck eggs are a little bit different. They have a slightly different protein to fat ratio as well, and I think generally speaking, I like duck eggs anyway. I think you get more value out of them, and because they're larger. But maybe go without eggs for a while, or try just using the yolks. Try to separate the whites from the yolks, because a lot of people who have trouble with eggs, for example, it's really the yolks that they have trouble with, because again, that's why the building blocks for the yolk to actually turn into a chicken, right? And that part of the
you mean it's the whites they usually have problem with?
Yeah, the whites.
Okay, not the yolk.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, it's the whites that they usually have the trouble with. So try separating
sensitivities.
Yeah. So try separating the whites from the yolks, even if you put it into a shake or something, or just have an egg yolk omelet or something like that. I would start with that. If you're still having trouble, I would certainly cut the cheese, any sort of dairy form out, and I would separate those yolks. That's what I would do anyway. So okay, any more questions, guys? All right, so I mean, there are a lot of people, I suppose, taking these GLP-1 drugs. We were talking about this just before, and I spoke with Dr. Vasquez about this. He had no benefit from the GLP-1 at all. Have you seen any benefits, Doc, from your clients or your patients from GLPs?
They do control diabetes much better, but there's no drug, including GLPs. There's no drug that will help you with your blood sugars as much as a either very low carbohydrate diet or a carnivore diet. Absolutely. When you eliminate the thing that's keeping your blood sugars high, okay,
Mm.
your blood sugars go down.
Yeah.
And all these medications, GLPs might be, like I said, the better quarterback when you're dealing with diabetes, increasing insulin sensitivity, optimizing insulin secretion, because they do make the pancreas secrete insulin, but it's optimized to the point that it's just better than any artificial intelligence insulin pump. I mean, your body is very good, and then the GLPs enhance that action. But you don't need all these medications if you really go on a very low carbohydrate diet or ketogenic, a ketogenic diet or carnivore. Uh, you're eliminating what's keeping your blood sugars up.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. Mandy was just saying that she's 3 years lion diet, I'm assuming. Yes, sorry, yolk only with lion diet, brain fog slowly processes.
Try 30 days without eggs, or 60 or
Yeah,
90 days without eggs, and see
yeah,
what happens.
yeah, that's what I would do. I would, like I said, okay, if you're 3 years, you should be fairly well fat adapted. I would increase my fat intake, um, and eliminate the eggs and see how you feel. You might be, like some people really function so much better on, say, a 90+% fat intake. So that's what I would do.
And then also
And
maybe checking the condiments. You might be using some kind of a nasties including condiments. And
yeah,
if you have a kind of a financial power, you might want to put the CGM to see the are you able to control the glucose. Glucose goes down, up, down. Your brain doesn't function.
yeah, that's right. Yeah, so there are. I mean, I can't say exactly. Like, it depends on how clean your diet is as well. Like we were saying before, that doesn't have to be
Oh, here
perfect
you
all the
go.
time.
Okay.
But
Doctor, great.
very good. Yeah,
Ninety-two.
CGMs. Yeah, CGMs are great. If you've got the money to do that, that's all good. Even like a cheap blood glucose monitor every now and then, you can sort of, with a finger prick, they are
Yes.
very good to monitor as well. I usually do that around meals. Um, I think, yeah, try go without eggs. See how you feel. And again, there are other options for eggs as well, like duck eggs, for example. Um, and you might find that you function better on that as well. So
And the sunlight exposure, sunlight, like a
yeah,
regulator, glucose, regulation.
yeah, that's right. Yeah, sunlight is so important. I think it's not just about diet as well. It's about lifestyle. I think it's very important that you have movement. Circulation is, the bedrock. Okay, for our body, we are designed to move. Um, and grounding, get out on the wet grass if you can, and just do at least half an hour a day. It's not too much to ask. Like, and your body will, and be outside in the sunlight. It makes a very big difference to your day as well. And you get more ketones to the brain too. Like grounding and sunlight. It's just really beneficial for your overall health and your state of mind, I think so. Okay, GP wants to add GLP. I don't take any drugs with only vitamin D, K drugs scare me, including GLP. Thanks for your help tonight. No worries. You're very welcome. Yeah, like again, I'm very much anti supplements because they are very high in deuterium. They cause more problems than they actually, and largely you're just wasting your money, because when it comes to supplements, that they are not bioavailable. What they are actually trying to sell you, okay, they're heavily processed sort of things that do a lot of damage, really. And you want your body to produce these hormones as much as possible and get as much from your diet as possible. Fat is very high in K2, and D3, so that's what you want. All right. Well, we're just about at the last hour and a half, at the hour and a half mark. So, any last words, guys? Demi, you want to?
Yeah, thank you very much for. I had a great fun moment with you guys and everybody out there. Thank you very much for participating our lovely meeting once again.
Very good. Any last bit of advice?
Eat the fatty meat.
Eat the fatty meat. Yep. Eat the fatty meat. Yep. And keep moving. Try and enjoy your day as much as possible. Try to find fun things to do and just embrace life and enjoy your life, because we are built to move. We are built to enjoy the sunlight. We are enjoy the outdoor space as well. So I really hope you all feel a lot better and stay healthy. Because that's the only way to make progress is to stay healthy. I suppose the last bit too, like we said at the beginning, is it is about progress. It's not about perfection. So it's don't be too hard on yourself either. All right.
Stay consistent. Sometimes. And when you realize something is actually hurting you, even if it's carnivore, then try to avoid it. That's right. Sometimes we tend to allow the fact that we like something to hurt us.
Yeah, I agree. I'm not loyal to any one way of eating. I am loyal to what works. So if that changes, then you have to change to go with it as well. Don't think that just because it's carnivore that it has to work, sort of thing. Just there are other things involved as well, and we all have different conditions, and sometimes we might have to change things, and don't be afraid to do that. So
yeah.
Okay, excellent. Thanks everyone. Goodbye.
Have a good night.